Welcome to the Ed Fernandez Show. I'm Tom Roussel, and across from me, the man himself, Mr. Ed Fernandez.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for watching. It's a pleasure.
We're back.
Yes, we are.
Back like we never left.
Nope.
Today, we're going to talk about advice for all the people, how to start a business.
Yeah, that's
You got no words already.
I don't even know what to say.
I know. So we're in our beautiful studio here in 1031 Crowdfunding, Southern California. And a lot of people see you, whether it be on the show or website or online on TD Ameritrade, or and they think, oh, look at this guy. It's how it always was.
Yeah, no, God, no.
It's
absolutely
kind of the
not.
exact opposite.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's not. Yeah, no.
Do you think starting this business is one of the hardest things you've ever done?
You know, it is. Actually, it wasn't hard when it comes to work.
You're used to the work.
I'm used to the work. It was hard when it came to the hope. The hope was hard.
Wow.
Yeah. The overcoming the mental bombardment of failure was hard. The physical work, like I always say, pan comido, easy. The mental capacity, that was hard.
Took a lot. Still does.
Took a lot, yeah. It takes a lot to mentally get you right to be successful.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you remember the moment? Do you remember the moment when you knew that you needed to start this business or you wanted to start this business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if everybody doesn't know already, I'm a follower of Jesus. I love Jesus, and and that's how I live my life. And to go back, I was working for a company for 14 years, and that company imploded. And so back in 2014 of February, I got my last paycheck, and the company closed down in April 2014. Right. So I had the choice to make. I can easily have gotten a job. No problem. I can raise equity. That's what I do. I've been doing it for a very long time, and I can get a job. No big deal. But, because of my faith, God would tell me, and, God does talk, by the way. I'm going to keep saying that. He does talk. God would tell me, hey, do you want to work for man or do you want to work for me? And I said, Lord, I want to work for you, right? So one day, I had $7,000 of cash in my bank account. My bills were probably about $20 a month, easy. Okay.
That doesn't add up.
No. It was, my kids were in private school.
Yeah.
Okay. We had mortgage, we had car payments. It was scary, right? Again, that's a mental toughness to overcome that fear, right?
Right.
And God told me, I want you fasting for 7 days. And those who don't know fasting, you're depriving yourself of something. You can deprive yourself of food or TV or sugar. Here in this case, it was food, and I was just drinking water for 7 days. Okay. And God told me on the seventh day, the walls are going to fall down, right? And so there's a story in the Bible by the name, and there's a city called Jericho. These walls were really, really high, and God gave them the promised land. And so God said, hey, I want you to march around this city, right? And on the seventh day, I want you to shout, right? And the walls will fall down. Well, they shouted, and these stone walls fell down, and they took over the city, right? And so God told me, the walls will fall. And so on the seventh day, I went into my closet and started praying. And all I heard was 1031 crowdfunding. That was all I heard. Right? I was like, what the heck is that?
What
is that? What?
1031
crowdfunding. So I went and I ran downstairs and I Googled crowdfunding, and come to find out, I was doing this for 14 years. Now you can do it online. And when I found that out, I knew this is what I needed to do. Wow. Crazy story, but it's a true story. It's true.
So what were the next? You got the name.
Yeah.
You got the idea.
Got the name. I got the name from God, but then I went on GoDaddy.
And then you really got the name.
And then I really got the name for $9.99. Yeah. 1031crowdfunding.com.
What's that worth now?
I have no idea. I have no idea. But it's not worth $9.99.
No. Add some zeros.
Oh yeah, 9999999999999.
So step one, I'm going to buy the name. What were the next steps? What were the next steps that you took?
I didn't have any money. I had $7,000.
Yeah.
$7,000 wasn't going to do it. There's no way. So there was a guy by the name of Marcus, and he wanted to hire me, right? So I was like, Marcus, I'm not looking for a job, right? So I called him, hey, Marcus, this is what I want to do. I want to do this. 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 He said, hey, Ed, I really don't want to buy your friendship. Let me chew on it. I really didn't think I was going to hear back from him, right? Calls me the next morning. How much you need? I was like, oh, shoot. I wasn't prepared. Didn't know how much I needed. So I just said, okay, 60 grand, right? So he sends me $60,000 on a handshake that day. He wires it, right? On a handshake. I took $30,000, put it in my bank account, paid my bills.
Because it's 7,000, that ain't even gonna.
Now I had 37,000.
Right.
Okay. So I had 20,000 in my bills, had 17,000 cushion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I did that, and I took the other 30,000 and I gave it to a securities attorney, and that securities attorney created a private placement memorandum, which is a private offering, and the offering was for $500,000. How was I going to raise $500,000? I had no idea, right? And so, Wade, right? He was my first hire, right? So I wrote my first payroll check of $2,500 to Wade, right? Who's our CFO now. And he created a pro forma for me, right? And I don't even remember who did the marketing materials. I might have paid an outside party to do that, but I had an executive summary, I had a business plan and an operating agreement, I had a private placement memorandum, and I had a pro forma.
I'd love to find that in the files.
Oh, I have it.
You have it?
Oh, I got to show it to you. I'm going to show it to you. You're going to like, what the heck is that?
Let's frame it.
Right, it's bad, right? And
it's bad. It worked.
Yeah, it worked. I know. And so to make investors comfortable, I put an escrow, right, of $200,000. So if I didn't raise $200,000 in a certain period of time, I had to give the money back, okay? And so one of my business partners, who no longer is a partner of mine anymore, I bought him out, through his family, was able to raise $150,000. So I was $50,000 short, okay? And the money ran out. Couldn't pay my bills, right? The good thing, funny thing, I never was late on any payment, so my credit was stellar.
Really?
To this day, never blew up my credit, right? But I was coming to a point where, I have no more money. So I was a week away from the escrow being over, and if I didn't raise the other $50,000 in that week period of time, I had to give the $150,000 back. So I was so angry at God. Okay, I was yelling at God. And I said, you know what, God? I don't even care. I'm taking the money. I'm not going to let my family blow up. I'm taking the money. You know, God, and remember, God does talk. He said to me, do what you need to do with the money that you have. By this time next week, because it was a Friday, by this time next week, you'll have the money. That Friday, next Friday, I go to meet a guy who was on my praise and worship team, and he's a registered investment advisor. Mm-hmm. And I told him about everything I was doing. He gave me the 50 grand. That day, broke escrow, and then he invested an additional 300 grand. So I got the full $500,000, and 1031 crowdfunding was off to the races.
Wow.
That's how it happened.
So
True story.
So for people that maybe don't have the relationships like you do, how does anyone even... First, you got money saying you weren't prepared, which surprises me because you're always prepared.
I wasn't prepared because I thought he wasn't going to call me back.
Right. You're just having a chat. So he calls you back and it's like, how much you need?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't prepared.
How do people even go about getting initial capital? I mean,
well, nowadays, you have these crowdfunding sites.
Yeah.
Right. You have crowdfunding sites that'll give you equity, right? But you have to have a sound business plan, right? You have to, you have to know what you're doing, right? You can't just start a business and not know what you're doing. I always say, hey, if you're out there working for Verizon Wireless or T-Mobile or AT&T, and you're working at a store, and you know how they order the phones, you know what the margins are, well, why not open your own store? Why not contact these guys and say, hey, I want to open my own store? And I promise you, if you show someone who has money that you want them to invest in you, and they know you've been working at a cell phone store for 10 years, I promise you, they're going to invest because you know what the heck you're doing. Now, if you come to me and you've never worked in a cell phone store and you said, oh, I'm going to start opening up cell phone store, now I'm good. Because I know you don't know what you're doing. And so in starting a business, the focus is minimizing risks. So if you have a certain amount of money, Tom, and you know that certain amount of money is only going to last you a certain period of time, okay, that period of time can be extended if you know what you're doing because it minimizes the risk. If you don't know what you're doing and you have that certain amount of money, that certain amount of money can run out sooner than later because of the errors that you made, and errors cost money and they cost time. So if you make an error which costs more time, that time ends up costing you more money, you need more money, and most of the time you fail. So make sure you know what you're doing. You don't need to know LLCs. You don't need to know inks and structures and this and all that other stuff. That comes later. Just know whatever service you're going to provide that you're good at.
Right. We always talk about it. We've been talking about it. Instagram gurus saying, buy my course, and then you could do drop shipping, or you're going to be a millionaire within this amount of time. You always go back to, you need to know what you're doing. Don't go into a business that you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So what are some tools and resources that you kind of used? Was it just your experience, or how did you just take the plunge of like, I know what I'm doing, but it's hard to start a business, the LLCs and stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But like, you had to come up with what to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you also have to be willing to learn things that you don't know.
Right.
Right. So I knew how to create a securities product. I knew how to do that. I was doing that for 14 years. I knew how to do it.
Which is very difficult, by the way.
Yeah. And I learned a lot. And I knew the right people to call to do that. But I didn't know anything about Google AdWords.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about a website. I didn't know anything about a CRM system, and when I talk about a website, I'm not talking about just a landing page. I'm talking about a functional platform that you can go in, view products, download things. I had no clue what I was doing, but I took the time because the money that I raised, the $500,000, I only had two people. It was me and Wade.
Got it.
Right. That's all I had to pay for was me and Wade. And I make sure I had a tiny little office space, just a little tiny little, it fit like three people.
Something to put on business card and stuff.
Right? Because I didn't want people Googling my home
address.
Oh, you can't do that. You had to have them Google a building, right? Yeah. So I had enough money just to do a little office space, right? Mm-hmm. And then, because my costs were so low and my lifestyle, I didn't increase my lifestyle. I kept it the same. I had the money to take the time to learn all these things. Mm-hmm. So then I learned how to do Google AdWords and pay-per-click. I learned how to do that. I learned how to create a back-end platform, skeleton model, right? You do the skeleton and then you add the meat to. I learned how to do all that. No one taught me that stuff, but I was willing to learn how to do it and take the time to do it. So as long as the service you're providing, you're an expert in, everything else you can learn. Right? Because when you finish learning all the things that you didn't know, at the end of the day, it's the service that's going to make you the money, not the education of all these other things to provide the service.
All that doesn't create the actual meat and potatoes of the product that's going to sell.
Right.
That doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
If you have a good product
or
service or whatever. Business.
Correct.
I mean, we've already talked about obstacles.
Yeah.
But after, you met these financial goals, do you remember another huge obstacle that you were like, how are we going to continue on?
Oh my God. Yeah. So, yeah.
Your eyes just
lit up. God. So, and I can name the company because they're no longer in business, but there was a company by the name of Community Leader, and Community Leader provided me the backbone to my website. So that when investors went to my website and they registered, they left one part of the site and went into the back part of the site, which in this case was Community Leader, right? And Community Leader, it was cheap. And I was wondering, I used to always ask them, guys, I'm trying to understand how you make money, right? Because my concern was they weren't making money. They go out of business, and then they forced me to go out of business, right? And so little by little, one day, I was making money. And one of the founders, I was making her money. But one day I get a phone call from this guy and he goes, "Hey, Ed, we're closing down the business." I was going bonkers because—
Did you just have a heart attack or something?
I was going bonkers because I knew if they went out of business, I was going out of business because everything I had was tied into their business. But because I was making money to one of the founders, she called me. And because they went out of the business, her collateral was the code. And she already had a business that had code writers and developers. She was very savvy in the business. See, she invested in a business, but she knew about the business because she was doing the same thing, but in a different field.
Contingency plan.
Right? And so she knew I was making her a lot of money. And she calls me up. She goes, "Ed, it went down, but I have the code. Don't worry about it. My entire team is actually keeping you up and running." Right? And so I made a strategic partnership with her where the code is exclusive to me. And I have the first right of refusal to buy the code if I want to. Right?
And we're still with them today?
Yes. And that was a very scary, pivotal moment that almost put me out of business.
I noticed that is something that you've molded how you do business now, where you aren't reliant on any one thing.
Redundancy.
For your business.
Redundancy, man. Redundancy. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to say this, but, we had an incident that happened last week on the show that was unexpected. And one of our key people decided it was time for him to leave. Just instantaneous, just like that. And we had the redundancy, right, to continue on. And here we are.
Yeah.
Right. So I never, ever in my business or businesses, I actually owe several businesses in my business, I never rely on one person ever. Right. Because
or program
or company or service. I never put my eggs in one basket because that basket gets a hole in it and now I got problems. And that's exactly, I do that with everything. Everything.
Let's go into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Building a team. I mean, the team is the lifeblood of the business. You need a good team. You started off with you and Wade.
Yep.
How did you go about surrounding yourself with a team and building that out?
Well, so I hired people I knew. Remember, I came out of that industry after 14 years. And when that company imploded, all those employees, a lot of them didn't have work. And if they were working, they were doing some odd jobs on the side just to pay their bills. They weren't really in what they were doing before. And so what I ended up doing is starting going to those people and started offering them positions in the company because I knew them. I knew who they are. I knew their skill set. I trusted them, right? And I knew they would fit the culture. So trust and culture is number one. Skill set, that can come later. Or, when you're growing, right? Like right now, skill set becomes very important. Yes. But still, the most important thing is the culture. So I hire people based on the culture of the organization and see how they fit with the culture. And if they fit in the culture, then we can continue moving on and actually see if there's somebody that we want to hire.
So if you trust in someone, you can trust that even if the skills aren't there, you're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're gonna work hard. Right? Like, I mean, my son, he's an audio guy. He's not a video guy, but he picked up all the video and I trust that he's going to stay up all night if he had to and make it happen. And he did. Right? And then now we have Justin, right? Now, and Justin is
Shout out Justin.
Yeah, Justin, new team member. There you go, right over there. He's now doing all the video stuff and everything like that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, redundancy, right? Redundancy makes things continue to move forward, so you don't have to look back and go, why'd I do that?
Trust and redundancy.
Trust and redundancy, man.
What role did market research play in this? You knew a lot about the business,
Yeah.
but it's a new thing for you. You didn't. It was similar, but it was different. And you were talking about doing this business for a while at our last company.
Yeah.
And it seemed like no
one listened to me.
No one was listening to you.
No one listened to me.
So
I was doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
Back in 2012, I started studying these Delaware statutory trusts and DSTs. They started becoming popular, and no one wanted to listen to me at the company. All right, and so when I started 1031 crowdfunding, I studied who was doing crowdfunding, who was doing real estate crowdfunding, and I found Jillian and Darren Powderly. Jillian is from Realty Mogul. Darren is from Crowd Street. And then Adam, who's from Real Crowd. These guys, they were the first ones out there doing this stuff, and found out that they were competing with each other. They had similar things on their websites. And so I said, well, I don't want to compete with these guys. So that's why I decided, even though I got the name, I decided, okay, I'm going to focus on exchange products to get exchangers involved, right? And that's where the Delaware Statutory Trust, or DST, became part of our organization.
How did you validate that need? How did you
I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't know there was a need. All I knew is that, as a sales guy, I'm a sales guy, right? And it's very rare to have a CEO and president of organization that's, the number one job that he has is sales. So in sales, you got to go, okay, well, what incentivizes an investor to invest with you? Okay. Is it the product, the opportunity? Is it the return of the product, right? Is it discretionary money? Is it money that has a sense of urgency? Well, 1031 exchange has a sense of urgency, right? 1031 exchange, you got to do something. You got to find something in 45 days. Then you got to close that in 135 days. That 45 days is drama, sense of urgency. So I started saying, okay, well, if I do Delaware Statutory Trust, or DSTs, and focus on exchangers, the real estate market was coming out of the Great Recession, right? It was 2014 now. Market was getting hot.
Yeah.
People were doing exchanges. There was a sense of urgency. So a sense of urgency allows you to raise capital a lot faster. And that's why I went that direction. Instead of, invest in my product because I'm paying you 9%. Well, that's discretionary.
Right.
What if all of a sudden they don't want to invest?
I'll think about it. I'll get back to you.
Right. That's like slow boat to China. But oh my God, I'm going to pay the federal government 30% of my net worth after this? No way. Tell me what I need to do. Whole different ballgame.
What do you think some key financial metrics are for somebody that is just starting a business? You come from the financial services background.
Yeah.
But what should people even be looking at if they could be profitable?
I mean, operating expenses, and what if you had to put operating expenses on the top, underneath operating expenses is payroll, is rent, it's marketing, right? It's not the lights, it's not the DocuSign, it's not the Adobe, it's not the Microsoft 360. That's cheap, but it's the people and the marketing, right? You need to understand and quantify that. How many people are you going to hire? Are you going to hire a ton of people and have them sit around and twiddle their thumbs, right? I would rather spend a lot of money in marketing and have a lot of feedback come in to the point I'm overwhelmed and can't handle the feedback, and then hire the people, right? Instead of hiring the people and then not have enough money for marketing. So these are the things that, when you're starting a business, marketing is everything. People don't know who you are unless you tell them where you're at. And if you don't tell them where you're at, they're not coming.
Yeah.
So you better start, getting your marketing down. And what's really cool right now is, you have social media, right? So you see a lot of these. I don't do social media, but from time to time I check on the Ed Fernandez show, and I'm always getting bombarded with ads.
Yes.
Right. And so, if you can get in front of those people, you could sell your product. So those are the metrics that I would focus on is is really how much is it going to cost to actually do marketing? What is the people going to cost? And then what's my rent, etc.
Yeah, you've done a really good job on keeping the team tight through growth, where maybe sometimes we needed more people or bigger space. You know, we've gotten maxed out in the past where there was not one more seat in the house.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But you knew that the marketing was more important at that time.
Right. Right.
And you needed to get to the next level we've expanded double, you know, or not from when I started. Yeah. We were sitting in a place about the size of this, podcast studio, you know? The kitchen
we grew by 422% last year.
Yeah.
Right?
That just last year.
Yeah, Inc. magazine, 422. There's Inc. originals.
Yeah. So
you don't grow by 422% by making mistakes. Right? And I got to give kudos to my wife, Ruth, right? Ed Fernandez didn't do all that. Mm-hmm. Right? Ed Fernandez, you know, part of starting a business is knowing your role.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I don't know if that's in your notes in here, but you better know your role. I know I'm a horrible manager. You know, look, I crack the whip, right? I mean, that's how I am. I crack the whip. Mm-hmm. Ruth is more wise and methodical, and people love her. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, she handles all that, right? And so if people know they're loved and taken care of and cared for, they're going to go above and beyond for you as a company. And that's the reason why we grew so fast. You know, so I got to make sure Ruth gets her props because she's the one, when she came in, that's when we went kaboom.
She's I forget if we mentioned on the episode, but she's the COO here.
Yeah, Chief Operating Officer of 1031 Crowdfunding. And that's my wife, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. It all blends together, you know, like what did we say on this episode? But it's like for all the listeners that don't know us. Do you remember, you've made a ton of them, I'm sure, but can you just highlight one crucial decision you made that changed the direction of the company?
Wow, that's a tough question. A crucial decision that I made that changed the direction of the company. I would say enhancing the technology was a big deal. A lot of our rivals use white label platforms. They all have the same technology and they just change the color palettes to make it look like it's their own. So how am I going to be better if I do the same thing? So this community leader situation allowed me to get an exclusivity to the code. Mm-hmm. And whatever I can think of, it's created. And so we have been constantly thinking of new things to do with the technology that has completely set us apart from everyone else. If I didn't do that, right now, in this economy with interest rates so high, volume has changed. Right? Volume is down by 40%. Mm-hmm. Okay? The little guy who was just picking fruit up from the ground no longer can pick fruit up from the ground. There's no fruit on the floor to pick the ground.
Right.
So those guys who can climb the tree and get to the very top where the fruit still exists are still in business. And that's us because of our technology.
And that's not immediate gratification either. It's not put money in marketing, get a sale. So I'm sure that was just like you spent a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
The white label solutions.
It's easy.
It's cheap.
Yeah.
But it's slowly grown into something that is completely different than anybody else has.
Absolutely. Every time somebody comes to our site and they go into the back end, they're amazed of what it can do. And we are very protective of that. That's why, you know, when you register, we all need to talk to you before you get access to the site because we got a lot of spies. A lot of people coming in trying to figure out how we're doing everything. Yeah. The last thing I want to do is give away my secret sauce. Uh-huh. But to answer your question, the technology has been huge, and the technology has allowed us to do the branding. And now we have a brand name. People know who we are, and with a brand name, you get referrals from lawyers and CPAs and qualified intermediaries. And then doing the podcast and being on live TV and being in magazines, that also is a big deal too.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're in one of the most regulated businesses there is.
Yeah.
How did you even manage that, the legal and regulatory environment of because there's big risk.
Yeah.
There's big risk in this because people go to jail.
Oh yeah.
People go to jail.
It's not jail. It's prison.
Prison.
There's a difference.
You're right.
Okay.
They're locked up for a long time. Yeah.
Jail's short-term stay.
Right.
Prison is you're there for a long time.
They might be in jail while they're awaiting their trial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, when crowdfunding came out, I remember going to these conferences, thousands and thousands of people getting involved in the crowdfunding space. We had thousands of websites. This crowdfunding site, I mean, it was bonkers, right? And I started seeing these people, what they were doing, because I'm always checking my competitors and, you know, and seeing, okay, what are these guys doing? And at that time, they were competitors, right? Now they're rivals. I don't need to beat anybody. I'm just going to outlast them, and I win by default, right?
Okay.
Right. But back then, they were competitors, right? So I was trying to win. And I would look on these competitors' sites, and they start saying things on these websites like, I know it's illegal. You can't say these things. Guarantee, I promise, and this return and that return. It got so crazy that the Department of Justice launched 400 agents to go attack these websites and systematically started shutting down all these companies. Lawsuits were happening. Investors' funds were used in wrong ways. It was bonkers, right? And I knew that because of my skill set and because of the high compliance nature of the business, I knew we were fine because we were dotting our I's and we were crossing our T's and we were doing everything right. We weren't kind of just going around with the wild, wild west and doing what everybody else did. And that paid dividends because all those guys are out of business now. They're gone. 1031 crowdfunding is it. We're growing, and we just kept taking market share and more market share, and we continue to take market share.
Right. I mean, the list was every year.
It was
huge, and it just
now it's down to like 10 maybe.
Yeah, it's wild.
You know, and you know, new ones popping up all the time. You know, but we're still right there.
Mm-hmm. Something I know about you. Not your favorite thing to go and network and rub elbows.
Oh, God. Yeah, no.
What's your advice to entrepreneurs that need to get out there and meet people to help their business succeed?
Well, I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? I think that's an important thing to do. I did it a couple of times. I did it, you know, just to kind of. Here's what I didn't want to do. When you raise money for a business, time is everything. And if you find yourself where your day is not full, doesn't mean you go home early. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's 2:00. I'm going home. There's nothing else to do.
We put in the hard work.
There's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
No. Get dressed, suited and booted, and go to a networking event.
Yeah.
Right? You never know who you're going to meet. But at least you're working, right? You're still trying to make it happen. When you're starting a business, there is no 9 to 5. Okay, doesn't exist. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I always was busy. I was never at home. I always, if I was in the office and then the office time, I didn't have enough to do in the office. I was pretty much done. I came back home, took a shower, got suited and booted, and went to a wine event or went to a local networking event.
Yeah.
Went to this, went to that, got to know people. Right? Did it result in anything? No, absolutely not. But it was for my mental capacity to say, I'm working. If it resulted in something, great. But it didn't result in it, and I'm not saying it wouldn't. But you got to do everything you can to make sure that you succeed, and it's not going home early.
Networking is not your thing.
Right.
But relationships are.
Yes.
How big was that in, like, you have a guy for everything. I say this, you got, oh, you need this? Let me call my guy. Let me call my guy. And they know you by a first name basis because you treat them good. But that goes the same with this industry. You know, you have amazing relationships. Do you think that had a lot to do with the success of this organization starting out?
Well, you know, amazing relationships come based on character.
Right.
And integrity. You do what you say you're going to do. Mm-hmm. Integrity is not integrity when it's inconvenient to do what you said you're going to do. That's true integrity. And when you have that character and that integrity, people like that because it's rare, right? Nowadays in the white collar world, you can fold up an LLC, claim bankruptcy, right? Open up a new LLC and screw all these other people. I'm just going to start over again. It's easy to do, but in life you can't do that, right? In life, if you mess up a relationship, it's very difficult to make that relationship up, right? You know, with the current situation, this individual is going to have a very difficult time making up his relationships, right? Because of the things that he did, right? But you can't do that. Right. You cannot do that. So my relationships have come from many, many years of doing what I said I'm going to do. When it was, even when it was hard to keep my word. And so that goes out. Now I've got relationships that they trust me, right? And I trust them. That's why I can pick up the phone, boom, and things happen, right? But
you got juice, as you would say.
That doesn't come overnight. It comes over time. People kind of start knowing, okay, Ed Fernandez is a legit guy, and he says what he's going to do. I like that guy. I'm going to do business with that guy.
Because they know they can count on you.
Yeah. They don't have to worry about, they don't have to look in their rearview mirror and make sure they're going to get a knife in their back. Right.
How did you go about acquiring your first customers? How did you spread the word about 1031 crowdfunding?
That was so hard,
because it was before I was even here. So this is crazy to me because I know how hard it is to start a business.
It was so tough. Yeah.
Marketing's huge.
It was so tough. So I had a partner, right, and a very bright individual, right? And he was in sales, but, you know, there would be leads coming in and I would monitor the leads and I would track what leads would come in. And I was more focused on taking all the best leads to make sure that sales would happen. And, you know, in order to do our first deal, there was a company that was already in the space, and I knew him for some time, that said, hey, Ed, I had no product on my website at all, right? And in order to sell something, you had to have a product on your website. I had 0 products. And so he said, hey, Ed, you know what? I'll put a product on your site. So he changed everything as far as the legal way you can do things, right? There are 2 legal ways. There's a way you can kind of use general solicitation, and there's a way that you can't use general solicitation. So he was willing to change it, put it on the website, and we had our first product, right? And from that first product, we were able to start generating sales. And so, you know, and that came from Google AdWords, right? So we spent like $2,500 a month. We get these little tiny trickle leads. At the time, I think 1031 exchanges and Delaware statutory trust cost maybe like $4 a click or $5 a click. Now it's like $50 a click, $60 a click, right? Because everybody wants to use it. But that's how we got our first customer. I had to get a product on the line, online first, and then master the keywords to make sure people would come, and then make sure that we actually ended up closing them on the phone. Right. And that's how it happened. And little by little over the years, now we currently have over 70,000, or I don't even know how many we have. And we got them coming in every month, right? Yeah. And we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to make that happen. But we also have a brand now that people can trust.
Sometimes you just know my next question. How you got the customers coming in? Yeah. How did you create a strong brand identity from day one?
Yeah. So the logo, I'll show you the logo, right? Because we said, oh, you got to go to the files and look at it. The logo.
The original OG logo?
Yeah, the original logo. So I found this website where it was designers. And I think they were in India, and you would put up like $300 or $400, and then these people would compete and submit their logos to you, right? And I gave them the name of the company, and then these logos started coming in, and I chose one, and from that logo it morphed into the logo we currently have today. And so the brand grew because of the way we take care of our clients. Our clients are very happy. Our Google reviews are very good. So we have happy clients giving us good reviews, right? And so it created a brand. And then every time someone makes a purchase with us, we give them, a nice shirt, right? And it says swap until you drop 1031 crowdfunding. They wear it to go to the gym, or they're working on their cars or cutting their lawn or whatever that stuff. So little by little, we were able to get the word out to the point to where, now we have lawyers and CPAs and qualified intermediaries. There's plenty of times when, someone will call and say, yeah, my qualified intermediary said I should call you guys, or my lawyer said I should call you guys, right? So it's not only about, AdWords. Then we started doing SEO, right? Organic stuff, and putting backlinks and articles. And now that I'm on TV and I'm in magazines and things like that, it just went kaboom, right? Now we have a PR team and da-da-da. So little by little, it actually created a brand that people can trust.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was going to keep it a surprise, but now whatever. But we're debuting a couple updated logos for you today in our meeting later. So
yes, that's what I'm talking about.
From beginning to end.
Wow, I'm so cool. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
That's like at 1:00, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm so looking forward to that. I got to see what you guys got.
Yeah. Shout out Elsa on our team. She's killing it over here. So you talked about all the competition doing stuff illegally.
Yeah.
And they go bye-bye.
Yeah.
DOJ comes into your
And
office.
shuts them down.
Yeah. But what about the people that stayed? How do you compete? Or
I don't compete.
I knew you were,
I never compete.
How do you deal with your rivals? How do you do business today?
I think of my rivals as a chihuahua biting at my ankles. How's that?
Okay.
They're annoying.
Yeah.
Right? But they're always there going to be trying to bite me. That's why I have Avor.
Yeah.
Right?
Who's Avor?
He's my land shark sitting under the table right now. My dog. Right? So my rivals are more like, here's what I don't do. I don't worry about what other people are doing. I really don't. Right? I watch them to see what they're doing, and sometimes they come up with great ideas that I go, oh, that's a great idea. We might do that too, right? I'm not so arrogant and conceited and full of myself to think that everything that I do is the best thing. There are a lot of very bright people out there that are doing some really cool things. And you know what? I look at it and go, wow, that's cool. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it better, right? And that's what they do with us, right? I see websites coming out with the oranges now and the blacks and the blues. No one was doing that. That was us.
Talking about the tenants' toilets, and
toilets
trash.
And the trash and, and this and that. So they're doing the same thing with us, but there is no one really doing what we're doing. I mean, when they suggest a similar product, that's not indicative of doing what we're doing. That's just distributing a product. But what we're doing is we're building a financial firm that is going to be taking care of your money, your kids' money, your kids' kids' money, your kids' 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 money through real estate and whatever that product is.
Yeah.
And that's what has made us different than everyone else. We're not here for a commission. Those are guys that are 25, 26, 30 years old. They're always driving. We're not here for the commission. We're here for the relationship. And if I can treat you right as an investor, you're going to tell other investors. And if I do and I perform well for you, you're going to continue to keep being my client. That's completely different than what other people are doing.
Let's talk about something really interesting, and it's mindset.
Yeah.
You've said yourself, not everybody's built to be an entrepreneur.
Oh my God.
And I think we're going to have another episode about talking about that.
Yes.
And that's a whole nother subject.
I forgot. I was going to bring my journals just to stack them here. Just to stack them here and go, this is the next thing. Right.
Yes.
Because being an entrepreneur is the sexiest thing today, right? Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Because you got these young kids that want to become billionaires. And, the tech space has done that for some young people, right? But for every billionaire that has been that's been created, I guarantee you there's been hundreds of thousands of people that have failed, right? Being an entrepreneur is a personality. It is. You have to have the personality of not being a quitter. You have to have the personality that losing is not an option. Mm-hmm. That running through walls, well, I have to run through a wall. Bring it on. Mm-hmm. How many walls do I have to run through? I will run through every single wall you put in front of me. An entrepreneur is someone who wakes up thinking how to be better. An entrepreneur is someone who wakes up, how can I make my body better? How healthy can I be? An entrepreneur is not a guy sitting around eating Doritos and weighing 500 pounds. That's not an entrepreneur, because if you don't take care of your body, you can't take care of your business. That's an entrepreneur. Everything else is just a byproduct of an entrepreneur. But if you cannot find yourself to not be a quitter, go get a job. Nothing wrong with that. Go get a job, right? Because, an entrepreneur is a leader, right? If you don't know how to lead, you're not an entrepreneur. So I would say that's, in my definition, an entrepreneur is someone who's just not part of this planet. It's very rare. Now everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, and it's just not the case. It's not that easy.
It's still not easy, right?
It's not easy.
Do you wake up, because Avor over here, I'm sure, wakes you up at 4 a.m.
4 o'clock in the morning every day, yeah.
And it's not easy waking up and having to bear the burden of what that day may hold. How do you motivate yourself?
So, number one, you have to love what you do.
Yeah.
Right? This is not a job. It's a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. And
if it's a job, then you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
Right? If it's a lifestyle and you love what you're doing, you may not love it. You may not love certain aspects of it, mm-hmm. but you love globally. You love what you do. It's not a burden, mm-hmm. right? It's a lifestyle. But to get up and be motivated every day to grow the business, because, being an entrepreneur never stops, right? You've got these levels of, am I going to make it? 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 Okay, you make it now, right? Then you hit this other level. Okay. Oh shoot, how are we gonna get more business? How are we gonna get more business, right? And then you get this other level. Oh shoot, I've got all these employees and da-da-da-da. Can I make payroll? Can I make payroll? Da-da-da-da. It's always something.
Right.
Oh, it never, ever ends. And so you have to have the mentality that you're never, ever going to stop growing your business. You're never going to stop taking calculated risk. You're never going to stop being an entrepreneur. It's not, oh, I was an entrepreneur yesterday and now I don't need to be one. No, you are one, mm-hmm. period.
Right.
Every day, wherever you are in your life, if you are a true entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you would have done differently?
No. I think I would have had more fun. I think back then.
I think you still need to. We talked about that on Darian's episode.
I know. I need to have fun. But I think, I have a very wealthy friend. And he always used to tell me, the funnest part, Ed, is the journey.
Okay.
It's not when you arrive. Have fun in the journey. The journey ends up being very, very scary. But when you arrive, there's no fun in arriving.
Got it.
Now you start figuring out, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah.
So enjoy the journey, because that's where the fun is. Because if you enjoy the journey, you will arrive. And then you'll have regrets that you didn't have fun.
And you can potentially continue to have fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Enjoy your success.
Yeah.
But don't sit on your hands. Don't sit on your hands and think that just because you got there that you don't have to work.
Yeah.
Right? You always have to work. Right. And an entrepreneur always wants to work. An entrepreneur is always thinking about new things. How can I do this better? How can I do that better? You just live it and breathe it every single day.
This goes into, you're taking a trip. And
oh my God, to Wyoming.
It's in Wyoming. And I'm like, off the grid and you're going to be doing all kinds of outdoor stuff, which not necessarily your thing.
It's not my thing.
This guy comes in with he's like, oh, there's no reception. Okay, I'm just going to buy a satellite device.
I have this thing. It looks like a Wi-Fi router. And all you do is pull up the antenna and it makes some noise. It connects to the satellite. I have an app on my phone. Turn on the app, hit the barcode. Now my phone works. So I got data coming from a satellite. I got 250 minutes and I'm plugged in, brother. There's no way I'm going to the boonies without being plugged in.
The entrepreneurial spirit never dies.
I cannot just like, they tell me, Ed, there's no cell phones out there. There's no cell towers. What do you mean there's no cell towers?
Yeah.
Well, your phone won't work.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, either I get some device or I'm not going. So I got this device.
Yeah.
And I'm good.
It's so funny. Because
and I promise you, bro, it can connect up to 5 devices. I'm charging everybody $100 a minute if they want to use my device. You ain't getting it for free.
It's a CEO event, so that's why all these other people are gonna be like, well, "How is this guy connected with us?"
$100, 1 minute, and go.
There's your next business, entrepreneur 101.
I'm always collecting. Always collecting.
Well, let's close on this question.
Yep.
I'm starting a business.
Yep.
I'm thinking about starting a business.
Yep.
Just one tip. We talked about a lot of things, but what's your tip for the entrepreneur starting a business today?
Don't ever let anybody tell you can't do it. Ever. And if you have toxic people around you telling you that, remove them from your lives. You can join them later and say, I told you so. But right now, get them out of your life. Because the biggest and the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur and starting a business is your mind. And if you allow people to tell you who you are and give you an identity that is not you, you will fail. So that's the number one thing. Surround yourself with people that say, yes, you can do it, and get rid of the people that say, no, you can't.
I love it.
You know?
Yeah, that's it.
Shoot. That one's free.
That one's free. It's all free right here on the Ed Fernandez Show. The sponsors, Ed Fernandez. So, well, thanks, Ed. This was another fun episode. I appreciate
You're
being
welcome,
a part
man.
of it, and enjoy your time in Wyoming.
Oh, my God.
I'm sure I'll be hearing from you.
Yes, you will. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Continue to watch. Again, you're the best thing of the Ed Fernandez Show.
Like and subscribe. Keep commenting. We're loving the social stuff. Talk to us on Instagram, and we'll see you next time.